Hello, beautiful and wonderful people, and welcome back to another Just Wildy video. This is going to be a very different video from what I've done in the past. You can kind of already tell what's going on here. This is going to be a ranking video. I've got my S, A, B, C, D, F tier list ready to go, and what I'm aiming for in this video is to give you guys my opinions on how I view the current state of 3BFtweaks races. Now the goal of this video is to rank the races within 3BFtweaks based on playability from a new player standpoint. Not a veteran player, not someone who's been playing for a long time, but those people who are really just trying to get their feet wet, jump into what 3BFtweaks has to offer and all the different mod lists out there that are running 3BFtweaks. You'll notice that I have the tier ranking system here, and how I did it is that all these races are going to be based on certain criteria. So in order to fit in the S tier, these races have to have no major drawbacks and can perform well in most, if not all, build types. For A tier, this is reserved for what is going to be mostly played due to the current state of 3BFtweaks, and these races are generally going to be easy to play for a newer player. For B tier, these races are all around decent, but usually will be outshined in a few ways by better options for various reasons. With C tier, this is for the certain races that have one too many undesirable qualities. However, they're still going to be able to shine on multiple different build types. And for D tier, I would say that this is where the niche builds and niche races live. So these races probably don't have many redeeming traits, and they're going to thrive on random niche builds that we all probably love to watch, but maybe not particularly play. It's not going to be easy for a new player. So they're going to be usually difficult to play as a new player. For F tier, it's just these races are bad. These races would need major improvements to see the light of day before I would recommend any new player start to play them when they're just getting into 3BFtweaks. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. First on the list, we have Khajiit. Now, Khajiit, they get a lot of good stuff. They've got 10% base movement speed on top of what all the normal base movement speed is at 100. They deal 10% more damage with weapons. They're a beast race, so they can stomach raw foods and eat bestial stew. They can also sneak and pickpocket without using perk investment. Along with that, they get innate lockpicking expertise. They have night vision. They get more unarmed damage, and in my opinion, Khajiits make the greatest skirmishers because they have high mobility and armor penetration. So they also make for really good thieves, archers, and barbarian type builds. And I'd like to say that Khajiit should be in the A tier, but their low starting health makes them difficult to survive lethal attacks at low levels. So it's kind of like good luck trying to mitigate damage early on by going heavy armor with them as well, because while it is possible to have a tanky sort of juggernaut style Khajiit build, the Khajiit only start with 5 heavy armor level. And so for these reasons, I am putting Khajiit in the B tier. Next on the list, we have Nords. And Nords are interesting because they start with 120 health, 120 stam, and decent carry weight. They get 15% power attack cost reduction and 50% frost reduction. They also don't lose stamina when they get hit, and they have innate Thume cooldown reduction. The most glaring downside of Nords is that they have low magicka, coming in at only 80 magicka. Now paired with the right standing stone or blessing, this drawback is very easily mitigated if you want to delve into a magic wielding Nord. And these guys also excel with weapons and can be made into melee mage hybrids with enough magicka investment. On top of that, Nords come pre-packaged with higher than normal levels in heavy armor, light armor, smithing, blocking, one-handed, two-handed. I mean, they're just an easy choice to take if you're jumping into 3BFtweaks for the first time. The classic Nord Barbarian is still and probably always will be the best fit for this race, and for all of these reasons, I rank Nords in the A tier. Next on the list, and the third race we are going to be discussing, is going to be the Redguards. Redguards boast stamina regen and like the best stamina regen in the game, coming in at 1 stamina regen per second on top of an already 1.7% stamina regen. They also attack faster than any of the other races, making them the best choice if you're planning on doing a dual-wielding swordsman type build. Even more than that, their power attack cost is reduced by 20%, and like the Khajiit, they too get a movement speed boost, but Redguards only get 5% more movement speed, not 10% more movement speed. They innately have one-handed and light armor skills, and they also boast a whopping 75% resistance to both poison and disease. Now, it's no wonder that the Ebony Warrior is a Redguard, but the biggest drawback to Redguards is that they have a low magical pool of only 80. However, I would argue that their benefits greatly outshine this singular drawback, and for these reasons, I rank Redguards in the A tier. The fourth race we're going to be talking about are the Dunmer. To put it simply, you should only play them if you're going to be a mage or a vampire. Or both. They've got 50% fire resistance, which is great for vampires, or if you're starting on Solstheim. They're able to make potions and recharge weapons without perk investment. Their greatest racial quality, though, is that their offensive destruction spells deal 20% more damage, making them the strongest damaging spellcasters in the entire game. I can't really say many bad things about Dunmer, however, they only really shine if you're playing a destruction mage. For a beginning player, it's not a bad choice if you want to test out a pure mage playstyle. For all these reasons, I rank Dunmer in the C tier. For our fifth contestant, we have the Golden Girls from the Somerset Isle, the Altmer. The Altmer are the very definition of glass cannons in 3BFtweaks. They start with 25% weakness to fire, frost, and shock. They've only got 90 health and stamina to start off with. Their power attacks cost 10% more. But, like all glass cannons, they have some nifty tricks up their sleeves. For starters, they have the highest base magicka among all races, coming in at a huge 175 points. They also tie for having the highest natural magicka regeneration at 1.05%. And much like the Dunmer, Altmer can also make alchemy potions and recharge weapons without perk investment. Unique to the Altmer is the Channel Magicka spell, which allows the player to convert stamina into magicka. From a new player perspective, Altmer can be a challenge to play, and this is for good reason. But that shouldn't really stop you from trying them. If you can overcome their elemental weaknesses and play into their magicka strengths, you are truly a force to be reckoned with. And for these reasons, I put them in the D tier. Next we have the Imperials. These guys are probably the most new player-friendly race in 3BFtweaks. They start with 115 health and 145 stamina and 105 magicka, which is a pretty decent stat spread. They make for excellent heavy armor users and allow players to really feel and understand heavy armor casting, as Imperials are able to cast spells easier in heavy armor than any of the other races. They're also naturally gifted in speech, the martial skills, and some schools of magicka. Their stamina regen is second only to that of the Redguards. And to top it off, Imperials also receive 10% reduction in power attack cost. If you have a build in mind, but you can't really figure out which race to choose, odds are you could just go Imperial and make the build work fairly well. That's how versatile they really are. For these reasons, I rank Imperials in the S tier. Next on the list are our friendly denizens hailing from Blackmarsh. It is none other than the Argonians. Argonians, much like the Imperials, are able to fit the bill on most build types. They have all-around decent stats with 105 health, 120 stamina, but they've got a meager 90 magicka pool. Argonians' uniqueness comes in two forms. They have the ability to swim underwater without breathing, and their natural health regeneration. Although they're not as powerful as the Khajiit in the fisticuffs department, Argonians still dish out 35 unarmed damage. And like the curved sword wielding Redguards, Argonians get a huge 90% poison resistance buff. If that wasn't enough, they also have 25% shock resistance. Additionally, they are a beast race and can supplement their stamina woes with bestial stew, and they can make potions without perk investment. While their magicka pool is nothing to brag about, Argonians can and probably should be one of your first racial choices when starting to play with 3BFtweaks. And for these reasons, I rank Argonians in the A tier. Up next, we have the Orcs. If you think that magic is for the weak, then Orcs are just for you. I wouldn't recommend even touching magic if you're playing an Orc, because these guys are cursed with the lowest magicka pool among all the races, coming in at only 60 points. But what they lack in magical talents, they definitely make up for in brute strength and raw power. Orcs have the highest base health at 155 and have an average 110 stamina. Orcs burn more stamina when attacking, however, they deal more damage with their attacks. They also have the highest base carry weight at 145 for all of you loot goblins out there. They do get 10% power attack cost reduction, but you won't really notice it. In my opinion, Orcs make the strongest late game two-handed users, but they can be difficult for newer players at early levels due to their stamina consumption. They do have very high stamina regeneration coming in at 1.8%, just be careful with how often you are attacking. For these reasons, I place Orcs in the C tier. Ninth on the list are the Bretons. In short, Bretons are suboptimal. They are not the best or the most efficient choice, and there's likely always a better alternative to builds besides a Breton. Breton's stat spread looks like an Altmer's, but without the huge magicka pool. They get 90 health, 90 stamina, and 120 magicka. Also, like Altmer, they can make potions and recharge weapons without perk investment. A Breton's uniqueness is really threefold. They can craft unique foods, they have 20% magic resistance, and their spells last 30% longer. While Bretons are outshined by the Altmer and Dunmer, newer players should still gravitate towards Bretons if they wish to play a magic-based build due to their long-lasting spells and magic resistance. For these reasons, I rank Bretons in the D tier. Last on the list, but certainly not least, we have the Wood Elf. Just play him if you want to be an archer.